So as you can tell by the thumbnail, here is another IPS screen install. And it's different than the other ones, but at the same time, it's kind of the same one. So what I'm going to do is, especially considering I'm already long-winded a bit sometimes in these videos, I'm going to show you everything that actually went wrong. I'm going to leave that in. So a couple of those things are, though, actually I have the device right here. This is the old screen and stuff. I'm hanging on to that. But so some of the things that went wrong was, one, just purely my excitement. I did the whole thing in one day, not even a whole day. It maybe a couple hours. First of all, whenever you're using a knife or anything, you got to be really careful. I'm lucky I didn't cut myself. I actually used a pocket knife to do all the carving out of here. But the aftermarket shells are not quite as tough as the original ones, so it was a little easier. But yeah, be careful. There's a great risk of cutting yourself on it. But other than that, the case wasn't a mistake. But one thing that was a mistake that I have seen in other videos that people took care of, and I just, in my excitement, I got all the stuff in the mail. Well, the screen showed up. I already had the shell, and I had the EZFlash cartridge already. As if you saw my last video, you saw I did a video on that. And my problem is I forgot to do something about the color of the case. Because the case is such a bright color, underneath the glass, and that is nice that this is glass, not plastic, you can see the case in there. So it kind of looks wrong. A lot of people I noticed put, like, they'll either paint it or they actually put just some black electric tape over there. But I got excited, and I put it together real quickly too. And I can't tell if this is going to focus in right or not. So hopefully it does. But if you see that little white speck there, and you'll probably notice it in the thumbnail, so maybe I'll bring it up there. That's caused by, well, actually, I'm going to interrupt the video just for a moment. Yeah, I just wanted to interrupt the video real quick. All I just wanted to say before jumping back into it is, if for any reason you like the content or anything, or heck, if you don't like it, I always say links in the description, and I have it come up on the screen. And the reason for that, those are affiliate links that actually help the channel out. If you're looking at buying something on Amazon and you click one of the links, it doesn't even actually have to be that item. It could be anything as long as you click through that link. So if you do feel like helping out the channel and you are looking at getting something, feel free to click one of those links and make your purchase, or maybe just check out to see if you do want anything. It doesn't cost you any extra to do it, and it's a simple way to just help out with something maybe you were already going to do anyways. But other than that, back to the video, and thanks. Okay, and that's what I wanted to interrupt it for. Sorry. I got to try at least. So what we have here is the bump that was caused by, I used the original screws. I didn't use the screws that came with the shell, and I should have. It was a different length. So inside the battery compartment, use the screws that come with the shell if you get a new shell. If you're using the same shell, obviously use that screw. But there's a Phillips head right here. And everything I'm describing, I will show after this. If you want to watch what I carved out, where I put the screws in, how I put it together, that'll be in the video. But I know there's a lot of videos out there, and not any of them really talk about mistakes or anything. So that's really what I kind of want to cover. But don't use the screws that came with your shell. Like I said, though, if you're using the original shell, obviously you have those already, because it pushed a little too far. So now I got to see if I can maybe heat up and flatten that back out, get that whiteness to go away that popped through there from stressing the plastic. I did actually, and I think it's this one right here. This is one of the tri-wing ones, and right there alone I was having trouble getting that in, and I realized something's not right here. So I flipped it over and saw that, and I'm like, so I ended up, for the rest of all the screws, using the on the outside at least, using the screws that came with the shell, and they went in perfectly. So if you see me struggling in the video, that's part of that. Another thing is, and I didn't damage the screen at all doing it, so I'm going to put the batteries back in, and these are my USB rechargeable lithiums. I went with these because some people do a lithium modification to this. Really, I don't see the purpose in not just using these. You know, they just plug into a USB to charge, And if they are, I have 4 of them actually. And if they are charging, I can still put double A's in here. So I got the best of both worlds. So that's what I suggest. That's my opinion, making this what I consider my ultimate Game Boy Advance. Yeah, so one of the other things too is inside the unit, you have to carve away for this screen to fit in there. And there was one area, and I was nervous to do it. It was up by the bumper here. You have to carve away from there, and you want to be careful from there. And I didn't carve out maybe as much as I should, and then I feel like I ended up taking too much out. The part where I go around here on the screen, right down to where the start select buttons are, that's perfect. You can't feel at all that I removed any of that. And actually, now that's together, the buttons, their feedback is fine. So everything was okay. And it really wasn't too hard to remove the plastic except for where it's thicker. That's where maybe I should have used a Dremel or something a little safer. Once again, be really careful at that part. I was excitement got the best of me, but I got it in there. I didn't damage the screen. The part where in the thumbnail it says no solder, I did not use any solder on this. There are 3 wires you hook up so that you can hit start or select and use the bumpers to raise the brightness and everything. And I personally don't have a stick laying around here except for my EZFlash, so we'll just put this in here. Here, let me. There we go. The brightness was fine by default. I turned it on and off a bunch of times. I made sure that it didn't change at all. So I didn't solder the wires on. I'm shaky. I didn't want to risk damaging anything. And to be honest with you, it did not need it. This looks fantastic. I have no problems with the brightness of this at all. And this is the Omega EZFlash, like I said in my last video, but I can put in regular cartridges because it's still the original hardware. I actually really like this color. I probably will take it apart again though to get rid of the put the tape in there like I did. The other thing I should mention is I built this completely off of what came in. You'll see the other videos and they got that special electric tape, or they will just use electric tape, or they got these extra double sticky things to put in there. The kit I had, which everything will be in the description, the kit I had a piece of foam I put in there. Everything was really tight. The back of the screen actually had a plastic laminate over it, so I left that on there. I did not use anything extra than that came. That was me. Do with what you're comfortable with. There was a couple points where I put this together, especially where I didn't carve it out right away and I was trying to force the screen in, and I had to make peace with what was going to happen. But I ended up going back in there and fixing it. But there's things like the middle of the screen. When you pop, there's a double sticky piece that goes in here, and you'll see that in the video. When you pop this out, save this. Here's your double-sided sticky stuff. You don't have to buy extra stuff. You can use this to block off things too if you need to. But other than that, I highly recommend it. The links for it are in the description. As you can see, it is an amazing improvement off of what's in there. Better than any SP101 mod. And if you want, watch the video, see where I screwed up in there, and still pulled it off. Otherwise, thanks for making it this far.
All right, so either I put you to sleep and you don't know the video's still going, or you're sticking with me. Either way, I'll take it. So what you'll see is here, I'm comparing the ribbons. There's a wider 40-something and a narrower 30-something. That part doesn't actually really matter. If it doesn't fit, don't put it in there. But mine's the wider version. And this version 2 board, which, of course, links will be in the description, that has both, so there's nothing to worry about. And you just have to replace it. So you'll see as I'm moving off the original screen, or front shell, that white one, that I'm leaving the shell in there as I showed in the beginning of the video. Now we're going to move over into actually attaching the new one, and I'm gonna leave the screen protector on the front of this until I'm done. Do not remove that because you don't want to get fingerprints and stuff on the screen. So there's going to be points where I fast forward a bit. You're not going to really miss anything if I do. Like right now, I'm just kind of lining up and inspecting the cable. You'll see that, well, one, I'm horrible about lining up the camera, but you'll see that I'm lining the monitor up to a little push connector, and that just pushes and connects. Really easy to do. So I already have the monitor hooked up and the ribbon cable in the Game Boy Advance. It's just a matter of now getting a cartridge and batteries in it. And of course, once I figured out that the case itself has the other contacts, I realized, well, I'm going to have to put the back shell on, which isn't a big deal. I'm not going to screw it back in there. I just got to take the cartridge out here, set it back inside the housing. Not going to screw any of it back in. Actually, by putting the cartridge back into the system, it's going to kind of lock it together anyways. So that way I can just test it out. I don't really want to go any further with it without testing it first. Now, obviously, if you watch the beginning of the video, this is not an issue. It did end up working, but this of course, is before I realized if any of this worked.
Okay, I've got my Power Rangers game in here. See if we can get all this here. There we go. So I got my select and start just kind of resting on here because I do not have the front shell on. D-pad and A and B button. I do not have the, well, I can actually hit the upper triggers. So we got that all hooked up. I got my lithium batteries in here. And I already mentioned the Power Rangers game. So let's get this up here a little closer. See if we can get this into more of a focus range for the camera. I'm using the case it came in kind of to prop it up here. And then we're going to turn it on. This is with no, I did not hook any of the wires up. And I'm not going to. My camera actually died. I've already turned this on, and it's probably better you didn't see it because I sat there and just, I think I almost cried. I was so happy. So let's turn this on. And my camera is not doing this thing any justice. I am overly impressed with how good this IPS screen looks. I am not going to need to do any adjustments other than my focusing here. Let's see if I can lock in focusing. Or not. Well, there we go. Maybe that'll hold. Alright, so let's get my start. There we go. New game. Hit A. There we go. Alright, so this is where I should have used my different camera. I've actually been playing around with my DSLR because I have manual focus on it, and that works so much better for this than using basically using a cell phone right now. But I am overly impressed. Yeah, a lot of dialogue in this game here. See what I got? Punch, and yeah, so Tommy will talk to me. Dr. Oliver will talk to me forever. But yeah, this is fantastic. And here, let me turn it off and back on. So turn that off, turn it back on. Same brightness. One of my concerns and why I did that was I was worried without having the control of being able to do the start or select and bumper with using the wires, that was it going to be a different setting every time I turned it on. I'm blown away how easy this was. I'm so shaky, hence why I own the URLs also Shaky Films and ShakyStudios.com, even though I primarily do everything on PoundButtons.com. But yeah, this product description has the links, whatever, I can't even say it right. I'm actually very ecstatic about this. This is a great uplift. If you watch my previous videos, you know I'm a huge fan of my Game Boy Advance. I've always liked the side layout like this.
So here we're jumping back into a different recording. The last part was while I was actually filming that part. I felt like leaving that in here, where this part I'm going to go over just because it's really me just trying to get the sticker down and swearing a lot. But if you look really closely on the right hand side, you'll see by the start and select button I have removed the plastic wall right there all the way up until the shoulder button. You'll see there's a little bit of an L shape up there still. That does later get removed. When I dry fit the monitor, it fits fine, and then when I go to put it together, it doesn't. I kind of forced it in, and that's where I made the comment earlier about how I made peace with it, whether it's going to work or not. Also, you'll notice here there's plastic on the back of this. This is where I was talking about. I didn't put any of that special tape or anything down. There's already plastic on here, and the back of the board that goes on here is actually shielded also. So there was no problem with those two touching, and I just left that alone. Like I mentioned before, this whole build was done with what came in the case, what came for the shell, when I say the case, what came with the IPS screen, and also with what came in my own supply of console, meaning the Game Boy Advance. Obviously, I used the guts for that. I did not clean up the pads and everything like maybe I should. The contacts to me looked fine, and I actually used the new membranes and everything that came with the new shell, so there was nothing to clean up there. Here you'll see I'm actually trying to fit in, well, dry fit where these plastic pieces they send you go. It's supposed to help you line it up, and there is no instructions with this kit, but there's so much. There's some complaints about that too, but to be honest, there's so much on YouTube, for example, right here, that to help you get through it. So I pretty much just dry fitted the monitor in there, and this is where I'm foolishly committing because I still have not chopped out that little corner up there. So if you're wondering why I traced the Game Boy out on the dry erase board and what the red and blue marks are, the red marks are, you'll see there's upside down Y's and then there's T's. Those are actually just Y screws and T screws, and those were on the outside of the case. The blue ones were the ones that were on the inside of the case, and that was just to help me remember where they went. I did that on camera so you could see that I do it. Normally I do that off the camera if I'm taking something apart, or I have a piece of paper or cardboard that I punch the screws through in something that I drew out the shape of. But I just wanted to show it. Just by doing it helps me remember, kind of like taking notes. So the fact that I'm wearing it off is not a big deal. Here I'm trying to actually take the screen protector off. Sorry about the focus. I really didn't care much about the camera. I was really just excited to get this together. And as I'm pulling it, it was not coming off. And I'm like, oh my God, am I wrecking this? So I take it off camera here for a second. And when I come back on screen, I actually have peeled the front off. The tab came off on me while I was trying to get it off, so I had to carefully get the rest of the plastic off, and then I had to clean the screen because I got stuff on it. But here this is I'm committing, and you'll see I didn't take the plastic off the back. I know it's bad looking there, but I'm slowly wiggling it into place, and you'll see I'm forcing it into that corner, and it's just not good. I should have stopped right here. So I ended up having to take it all back apart. I tried screwing it together a little bit, and it was just a nightmare. I shouldn't have been doing that. This is one of those areas that, I messed up. So here we have it in. If you look real closely there, you'll see that part's gone up there now by the shoulder. And I just scored it as best I could with my knife, and then I took a needle nose and I just peeled it back. I had to force it in there pretty good, and even then it didn't, right away go in. But I'm keeping it face down right now because I don't want any dust to land on it as I'm bumping the camera around and stuff. Because what I'm doing is I'm actually peeling the tape off of the glass here. So I'm peeling out the middle section here, which I actually saved that because people get this tape and everything, or electric tape, to separate the electronics, but I didn't find any place where I really had to do that, so I actually never ended up using it. And then, yeah, my shaky self here popped the screen on, and that actually went all right. And then peeled it off. And this is the glass one, not plastic, so that's nice. So, yeah, I finally got it on there, and it fit everything, and that's when I kind of realized, I forgot to cover it inside, so the orange is showing through. And it's not that anything's wrong, it's just that's the way it is. So yeah, and here you'll even see I'm kind of pointing out where I had to end up clipping that out. And then the bubbles I'm just showing is the plastic that I didn't end up peeling off. Yeah, so now that I have that done, now I'm putting the membranes, the new membranes, not reusing the old ones. And you can see here I'm having a little trouble getting this on. There's a really skinny post under there that I actually bent a little bit by accident. And luckily I didn't break it because the membrane, or weaken it too much, the membrane wasn't pierced all the way, so I had to push it through till it pierced. And if you break that, it's not the end of the world. You got screws that are going to hold everything in, but you don't want to do that. One of the things that are kind of helping me with this that you can't really see on the camera is I have just a little block, and it's just my earbuds charging case, but a block that's underneath it holding it off the table, because if I had it flush on the table, it'd be wanting to push the buttons back out on me, and that would just be a nightmare. And I'm just kind of making sure everything gets in there. I was a little worried about the D-pad there. No big deal. The board just kind of came off to the side. That'll go in there. Just getting all the switches and everything, or not the switches, the pads in there. The switch I just showed, that actually won't go on until I get the board in. But yeah, it's little things like this little piece of plastic here. That's where the Game Boy's light shines through, to let you know, so you don't want to forget that. I actually, when unpacking it, it fell loose, and I didn't even notice it till at this moment. So it's something that ended up right, but I could say something that went wrong. I wasn't paying attention to what was in the package. Once again, I was so excited, you know. But yeah, so here's that foam I was talking about. So I didn't end up covering the board at all, because the foam covered the board. I mean, this ends up laying right over the top of it. Nothing's going to touch it. Keeps it in place. I didn't do any sticky stuff. I mean, other than what it came with, that you're supposed to put in there, and that's it. Now, something to notice here, and I end up having problems with this, that little piece of plastic that I was telling you about that had to pierce through the membrane, it was bent just enough where it's not going in the hole, but enough of it lined up and clicked together where I didn't notice it. So when I go to screw this together, it doesn't want to screw together, and I was going to force it. And I'm like, you know, forcing never works out. That's how I got the white dimple on the front, so I do end up forcing part of it. But I end up taking it back apart a little bit, wiggling it with my fingers, and it pops back into its guide pin hole, and screw it together, and everything was fine. So here I'm playing some 1943, which I've played in some of my other videos. I love this game. I don't know why, but I do. And this is the NES version. The EZFlash Omega Cart plays. I see I'll pointing out that spec. I was pretty upset about that. I mean, the good news is it's right in the center, but it still irritates me. But yeah, I mean, I'm just blown away by it. I still can't get over it. I'm so happy with it. I mean, I've had stuff like the K101 Plus, but that's all emulation. This is hardware driven, which is great, even though this one is one of my NES ROMs off my cartridge. But otherwise, you know, it's just really good. I mean, everything that's in here is a new shell. The shell doesn't matter. I could have used the old shell. But we got the EZFlash in here, which I can back up all my cartridges to. I'm using an IPS screen, which is going to just look fantastic in any lighting, and angles are great on them. Like I said, it blows the SP101 mods away. Well, the Game Boy Advance SP, what is it, AG-101, if you want to be picky about it. I'm probably still wrong, but obviously it's better than the 001 version, the earlier versions, which were side lit. And there's other IPS panels too for the Game Boy Color, things like that. I'd probably do one of those mods also. But this game's fantastic. I love this game. But and then you got the menu here. You know, I can exit out. I'm going to flip it over here in a second, and you'll see that I have the lithium batteries in it. I mean, I know some people do the mods. To me, there's no reason to do the mod. Just you get some lithium batteries. That way, if they go dead on you or something, you can. You know, I'm still pointing at that stupid thing. That's going to bother me. But you can, you know, I got double A's. Yeah, here's the old one here. There's other glasses you can get, too, for the front. I could have used the plastic that came with the shell. It said Game Boy Advance on it. There's a Famicom one out there that looks pretty good. I'm thinking of doing another one of these with the Famicom colors, maybe sourcing out a couple different cases or something to get the colors all together. But yeah, it is absolutely fantastic. And then, yeah, see, I'm pulling out the cartridge right there. That's the EZFlash. And then throw the Power Rangers one back in there. Turn it on, and I mean, it's still a Game Boy Advance. I mean, we didn't take the hardware out. Well, all right, we did take the hardware out, and we put in another case, but it's still the hardware. So yeah, I mean, can still play that also. And I know I've said it a bunch of times. I'm blown away. It looks great. Really, really happy with how this turned out. I wish I would have known about this sooner. I would have done it in a heartbeat. One of the reasons I play my micro over this one is because of the fact that of the screen. But this just feels more comfortable in the hand. And now the fact that I can do all the Game Boys, which the micro can only do the Advance, I can do all the Game Boys. I can do NES. That's fantastic. And I still have cartridge-based capability. Like I mentioned in previous videos, physical media is dead. Unless you want to go old school, Physical media is dead. When you buy a disc, it is just a key to download it to play it on your Xbox One or PlayStation 4. It's one of the reasons I've succumbed to the downloads. I don't buy the disc anymore if I can help it, because I have more than one system. So if I want to play it on my Xbox in one location and my Xbox on another, I either got to carry that, basically the key, the disc, because it's just a key, or I buy the download and I can download it to both and not worry about it. Even in our house we have multiple switches, and I've kind of started going to downloads on those, because if you have a cartridge and it updates, it's just a key. Unless it can play without that update. But if it's an update that's required for it to play, yep, your cartridge is a key. And now you have to carry it with you. It drives me nuts. But Game Boy Advance, NES, all the old school stuff. In fact, my 3DS, I've done some videos on that a lot lately. I'm going to start collecting for that. Not collecting, getting what I want for it. But yeah, other than that, yeah, here you'll see I'm going to be putting it back together. These are the screws it came with, what I should have done to begin with. Yeah, other than that, have a good one. Thanks for watching. All the links, of course, are in the description. And thanks.